Why is it that Frisk has such a strong connection with the first human? Their name is what appears in menus, save screens, and battle screens, and Frisk hears their memories when they fall down in Waterfall, and when they die. So what is up with this? Well, the first human does say at the end of the genocide route that it was Frisk's power that reawakened them, but clearly it's not that simple, because why did Frisk's power awaken specifically the first human, and not any of the 6 humans? And there's another thing. Why does Flowey seem to be aware of all this, to the point that he thinks Frisk is the first human? And there's another thing. What happened to the first human soul after Azrael died? Don't you think Asgore would have kept it to absorb along with the other 6 souls? However, those are far from the only weird things about this soul, since according to the Undertale Legends of Localization book, the power to save and load belongs to the being in the underground with the most determination. Now, my guess as to why this is that it's something to do with the determination power in the barrier. But regardless, why does Flowey say that he lost the power to save and load when Frisk fell underground? I mean, why would that happen when Frisk fell underground, and not any of the 6 humans that fell down after Flowey woke up? Does Frisk just have more determination than any of those humans and Flowey? Why? Well, here's the thing about that. While it might appear in all the other battles, the first human's name doesn't actually appear in our first encounter with Flowey, almost like Frisk's connection with the first human didn't begin until then and there. So I would like to propose the theory that after being revived, Flowey took the first human's soul in the hope that a human would fall underground with no soul, which he could then use to revive his best friend. What I am saying here is that Frisk actually didn't have a soul when they fell into the underground, and instead, when the soul first appeared for Flowey's encounter, that was Flowey giving the soul to Frisk. And this soul that we are playing as was actually originally the first human's soul. This perfectly explains why Flowey thinks that Frisk is the first human, because he doesn't know that his plan has failed until he sees it at the end of the pacifist route. This also would explain why Frisk has more determination than any of the 6 humans and Flowey, since if this is a soul that has just been sitting there waiting for possibly centuries, it probably would have garnered a lot of power in that time. This also explains why Flowey tells us we need to let Frisk live their life if we reload the game after completing pacifist, because we are actually not Frisk. We are a separate entity from them that is controlling them. So then why does the first human talk to us like a separate entity from them at the end of the genocide route? Well, the answer is determination. You see, similarly to how this golden flower covered in Azrael's dust was imbued with determination to gain a new consciousness as Flowey, the first human soul covered in their blood was imbued with the determination that was still in Frisk's body to gain a new consciousness as us, the player. And it is that same power of determination of Frisk's that allowed us to make them walk from the flower bed they landed on to the room where they meet Flowey even without the soul being inside them. But hold on a minute. What about before that? Why did Frisk climb Mount Ebott without a soul? Shouldn't their primary goal have been to get a soul so that they wouldn't die of lack of determination? I mean, what kind of child would have so much determination that they would climb to the top of a mountain on the off chance that they would find a soul there? And in fact, how did any of the 6 humans climb Mount Ebott? Don't you think that there would be caution warnings and security guards around its base to stop people from climbing this mountain that legends say that those who climb never return? And while we do see that the first human climbed the mountain without a problem, that was back in 201X, possibly centuries before the game even begins. The security would have gotten a lot better since then, especially considering what the humans think happened to them. Well, what if none of the humans who fell down actually climbed the mountain themselves at all? What if Asgore instead managed to convince the humans to sacrifice 6 of their own? I know it seems far-fetched, but hear me out. Remember how the humans thought that Azrael had killed the first human? Well, what if Asgore tried to use that to his advantage? What if he used the first human's soul to go to the surface and told the humans something like, "Give us 6 of your children or I will do to you what my son did to your child 1,000 times over." And I mean for this much bigger, much more intimidating monster, who, by the way, fought in the human monster war, meaning that some of the humans might recognize him from it, I could definitely see this plan working a lot better than the first humans. And again, I know this all seems far-fetched, but it just seems like a much better explanation than that 6 humans on 6 separate occasions all managed to somehow get past all the security that reasonably would have been placed around the base of Mount Ebott. Okay, but that still doesn't explain Frisk. Why would the humans sacrifice a human who didn't even have a soul? Well, here's the thing about that. Since Frisk doesn't receive what is, according to this theory, the first human soul until after all the 6 humans have fallen underground, that's probably when this whole plot of Flowey to take the first human soul away from Asgore happens. So what is most likely going on here is that after Asgore noticed that the first human's soul was missing, he made a second trip to the surface, this time using one of the 6 souls, and told the humans to sacrifice one more. However, the humans quickly realized that if they did, they would have given the monsters enough souls to leave the underground. So they devised a plan to trick the monsters by sacrificing a human without a soul. However, little did they know they were actually giving Flowey exactly what he wanted, a vessel, which he at least thought he could use to revive his best friend. I mean, just think about it. Think about it from a narrative standpoint. Why would Toby Fox choose for the intro of the game to be showing the first human, only for us to then start playing as a completely different one? What possible reason could he have to do this? Unless it was meant to hide the fact that Frisk fell underground as a human sacrifice meant to appease Asgore that was actually merely a sacrifice of an already soulless human corpse that was just meant to trick him. And the saddest part of all of this is that by the time Flowey had executed his plan, he was so caught up in his psychopathy that he just tried to kill the person he'd just spent so long trying to revive. And he didn't even believe it was them until after killing Toriel. So now we're just left with one final question. Why was Frisk missing a soul in the first place? What happened to Frisk's original soul? Well, I do have an explanation for this, but it's going to take a bit more clarification in order to be more convincing, so I'm going to save it for a future video. If you'd like to see that video, why not consider subscribing to my channel and also leaving a comment on what you think of the theory so that my channel gets more engagement. Now that that's all out of the way though, I'll see all you guys next time.